Hello and welcome to this edition of the Collaborative Corner podcast. I'm Brianna Barrow, one of your hosts, and happy to have you with us here today. The Collaborative Corner is a production of the Fort Wayne Media Collaborative with the goal of connecting listeners to the culture and stories of Northeast Indiana. Through this podcast, we want to bring you the full context of our region by speaking with notable people in local entertainment, government, food, you name it. Today, we are talking about Cinema Center, which is the premier cultural center for presentation of independent, foreign, and documentary films in Northeast Indiana. Through special programming, outreach, and educational programs, Cinema Center provides a hub for filmmakers and film lovers alike to share and discuss the craft. And coming up this Thursday, October 3rd through Sunday, October 6th, is the Hobnobben Film Festival, an annual film festival presented by the Fort Wayne Cinema Center. The festival connects filmmakers, film lovers, and film curious by illuminating the kaleidoscope of the human experience through storytelling that projects ideas, conversations, and relationships beyond the cinema walls. Joining me for today's episode is Board President of Cinema Center, Christy Hilly, and Board Secretary of Cinema Center, Amanda Hilly. They both serve as festival chairs for the Hobnobben Film Festival as well. Thank you both for being here today.
Thank you, Brittany.
Thank you for having us.
So can you guys talk to me a little bit about Cinema Center, maybe for someone who has never been or never even heard of it? What do you guys believe makes Cinema Center like the unique cultural venue that it is for film and, you know, kind of a community center in Fort Wayne for art lovers and filmmakers alike?
So for me, I've been going to Cinema Center or being a part of Cinema Center for about 12 plus years now, I think is how long my involvement's been with the org. And every single year something shifts or evolves ever so slightly. We keep getting better and smarter at our mission. Honestly, to me, Cinema Center kind of feels like a second home just because I've spent so much time in the building and know all of its nooks and crannies so well. But really it is the staff that's there that's so welcoming and so friendly. I feel like they are really the best representation of welcoming people to Cinema Center. And then it's just an extension of that is the storytelling that happens and how you can have conversations after the films, whether it be with your friends or someone behind the counter, about what you just saw. Cinema Center has also been doing an absolutely fantastic job at getting panel discussions and special events to partner with their programming to really bring it to Fort Wayne. I don't know. For me, I'm just like, I've seen so many cool movies at Cinema Center over the years, and I've had so many memories there, like so many people that I love. Like, I just want to keep going back and keep seeing it continue to evolve and have different iterations year over year.
Yeah, Bree, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said Cinema Center is a community center. So part of our mission is to not only showcase independent art house films, but to engage the audience in meaningful and impactful ways. We've been really leaning into having Q&As with industry folk as well as people within the Northeast community to bring a little bit more context behind the films that we show. Additionally, we're always doing outreach and joint programming. I know we just finished one up with the Indiana Humanities group. So it's really, I love Cinema Center because it's such a great jumping off point to have conversations and bring in the community to discuss what's happening here and what we're seeing through the stories that we get on film.
That is one of the things I love about Cinema Center. It's like, you know, if you go to a normal movie, you know, with like your friends or your family or something, you know, you might, if you're like a film lover, you might really get a lot out of it. Or if you were like maybe moved by, you know, a certain compelling film, like you want to talk about it instead of just like, oh yeah, it was good or it was bad. Like there's actually like a community there who like will kind of go deeper there with you. So
I also love that when you keep going to Cinema Center, you kind of get to know the regulars who show up all the time. So if you go like every single weekend or every other weekend or once a month, it's like, oh, I know that person. I see them here all the time. So you kind of get that. It's not a living room, but I feel like I'm watching it with friends or people that are at least like the same vibe as me. Like it's a nice experience.
Definitely.
Yeah.
10 out of 10 recommend being a part of the crew.
So kind of going off that, how do you guys think the Hobnobben Film Festival aims to connect filmmakers, film lovers, and the film curious? And what are some examples of how that's played out in the past?
Yeah, so I think Hobnobben is, when we're discussing Hobnobben, right,
Yeah.
it is the cinema center experience all in one weekend. And so a couple things that we always do during Hobnobben is we do panel discussions with subject matter experts here in Fort Wayne. For example, we have a film block, I believe it's Sunday, called Embracing the Spectrum. All of those short films highlight stories and or are written by folks with disabilities. And we're excited to have some panelists come in. One is from AWS.
Awesome.
To discuss the resources, the content that's seen on the films, with those who are viewing the films. And our screening location in that area is sensory friendly. And during that film block, we're the world premiere for one of the films. He's coming in, the filmmaker is coming in from Argentina, so we have international travel. And he also is on the spectrum. And so to be able to highlight those types of stories internationally and then bring something that is relevant within Fort Wayne by having those subject matter experts there, it's just a really cool circle to be able to do.
Yeah.
I always so whenever I attend Hobnobben, which is every year, and it has been since year one, I always think it's really cool to kind of, I don't know, demystify what a filmmaker is. Like, they're just normal, everyday people, especially within the independent filmmaking circles. So to really be able to go up and feel like you can have a conversation with the creator of this art and what their meaning was behind it or what they were trying to do, or to be able to, for a filmmaker, to get that feedback from someone who's just watched their film, it's really awesome to see that take place. And it's awesome, like, really cool to see how much benefit that has for both people watching films and attending the festival, and then the filmmakers for being able to get that feedback or just watch people watch their film. A lot of times people will introduce their film and then be like, no, I can't see this. Like, I'm gonna go, but I'll pop in and out throughout the viewing experience just to see what's going on. So, and we do offer a lot of different networking opportunities for filmmakers specifically so that they can interact with one another, because that's something that, you know, a lot of times you'll interact with your filmmaker friends or find a new collaborative partner and looking for a specific project that you're shooting, but you don't really get a chance to communicate and work with different types of filmmakers in that way or meet them. It can be difficult. So having people kind of get in the room together and really be able to collaborate and really just share projects and ideas, that type of stuff is really fun to see too. And of course, like, it's just fun to attend the festival as an attendee too. So we do a lot of things to kind of really foster those types of relationships with people who show up, and as well as the filmmakers themselves. I think it's cool because I come from a marketing advertising background, so a lot of times I'm used to seeing, like, you're cutting this for a commercial, instead of you're cutting this film to make a pretty story that's impactful or just fun. And getting the different feedback from filmmakers in that regard is really cool.
That is really cool. I like that you guys are having someone too, like, on the spectrum. I feel like that's an experience, like, or that's, you know, a voice who's, like, not always going to get heard.
Exactly.
I actually, like, I don't know if it was last year, maybe the year before, I went to Hobnobben and I saw Teacher of Patience.
Oh, that was so good.
I wish I remember the director's name. I know it was a gal out of Indy, and like, I watched her, like, Q&A. It was awesome. But then that, like, inspired me to go get involved with Gigi's Playhouse. And so, like, cool, like, little, you know, I feel like movies like that, they can just kind of, like, compel you to, like, want to get more involved with that community. So,
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
we
really
do
cool.
see that happen time and time again with Hobnobben too. Like, a couple years later, someone will be like, oh my gosh, it was that film that made me do this, or think about this in a different way.
Yeah, exactly. And so I guess you were kind of already talking about this a little bit, but what do you look for when you're selecting films for the festival? Like, are there particular themes or storytelling styles that resonate more with the audiences, or what just like what's your process
Yes.
when you're curating
All
a
of that.
collection? Yeah.
We
Go ahead.
So some of the things that we really look for when curating the festival, so we do have a committee that does it. That committee is ever growing in addition to the people who screen the films initially. But some of the main things that the festival looks for, like all of us together, is, is this good storytelling? Did the filmmaking aspects serve to tell this story? And did those filmmaking techniques add to it? Did it detract from it in a way that makes the story less compelling? Those are kind of, in terms of filmmaking, what we pay special attention to. And then in terms of story, it really is trying to find those stories or those narratives that aren't the typical white Western male perspective. So we really do try to focus in on the senior stories, campy and quirky and fun too. We don't see a ton of that, as well as focusing in on a lot of queer stories, Black stories, basically anything, female stories, anything that's not the norm that you would see, anyone that doesn't get as much focus as what we think they should, because representation is important, and all of these different groups and bodies of people and different backgrounds, they really matter, and it can really feel so impactful to see your story on screen, or just to see other types of stories that you wouldn't necessarily be exposed to, scrolling through Netflix or watching TikToks all the time. Like, we have stories that are as long as a 30-second TikTok. Like, you can watch them. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
But those are the stories that we do look for.
Yeah. I was blown away a couple of years. One of our co-chairs, Alex Watson, who was not here live during the interview, but is actually working behind the scenes. She pulled a stat that showcased how rare it is to be a female-led film festival. And with that knowledge, knowing that we are rare as a film festival, we've all really taken it to heart whose stories have been excluded just through power dynamics and opportunities that might be available to one person over another person. So at Hobnobben, we always like to say that we are story first. If you have a good story, we want to see it. Budgets are wonderful. I know all filmmakers wish they had more budgets, but having a high budget doesn't necessarily guarantee a spot in the festival, and it by not having a budget, that also doesn't mean that you won't have a voice within the festival. So we look for films and that have that compelling story that you wouldn't otherwise hear anywhere else. One area that we're really excited about is we actually partnered with a college in Iran, and through that partnership, they're not allowed to pay to submit to film festivals with sanctions. But we've worked with that college to have their film shown at our festival, and
Well, their works.
works.
They're allowed to submit. We allow them to submit
Yes.
to the festival without cost. We also offer waivers to any filmmaker who has a financial barrier, and no questions asked. We're not going to say, okay, like, tell us why. No, we just here's your waiver. And so the Iranian school isn't really good.
We want to hear the story over getting a buck from a filmmaker who's trying to showcase their art. But through having that relationship, I've learned an entirely different perspective from the Middle East that I would not have otherwise gotten, because those films are so rarely shown. And that's just one example, but we have so many examples of the stories that we've shown and how they've been able to start conversations within the Fort Wayne audience and abroad.
Yeah. I don't know who the quote is by, but I've heard that quote that's like, a world of cinema awaits you if you can just get past subtitles. Like, which I feel like is so true. But there was a film block last year, I believe it was like the Black motherhood panel.
Oh,
And
goodness,
also
yeah.
so educational for, I'm obviously not Black or a mother. So like to hear about those experiences was heartbreaking. And was every film in the thing perfectly aesthetic and perfectly shot? Maybe not, but the story still got through. So
And they stayed with you too.
and they did
and
stay
that's
with
the
me.
thing.
Yeah, hearing about those experiences and it's so common. That was heartbreaking. But going off of that, how does Hobnobben engage with and impact the Fort Wayne community? Are there any specific outreach or educational initiatives tied to the festival?
Absolutely. So every single year, education is kind of at the forefront of what we do within the festival. We've been talking a lot about stories and the impact that they can have. We really do take that true to heart in that we offer several panel discussions after films. Some of them are a little bit more hard-hitting. We have one after a grouping of some films this festival that deal with grief. Some of them are, on the lighter side and talking about, artistic creation and how you can make films or make just art in general is going to be shown after a group of films that's about just that topic. So with the panel discussions that does allow us to kind of fit into that education and also providing that additional context after a film or just some additional insights about what you just saw on screen. With those, we do partner with a wide variety of different organizations in Fort Wayne. This year we've got, as Amanda mentioned earlier, AWS, Acres Land Trust, we've got the Women's Fund, thank you, as well as a whole host of others. So we are always seeking out to talk with other people, to invite them to speak within the festival if they're subject matter experts. That is something that we strive to do every single year of the festival.
Kind of speaking to that, this year we have a film called Loud Enough. That is a feature documentary that follows the story of a woman who was sexually assaulted. They have the perpetrator on the phone admitting what he did, but she struggled to get it prosecuted. And so the film documents her struggle to get her day in court, her justice. That film was extremely well done and very hard to watch, but through that, we had discussions internally. What can we do to bring this story to Fort Wayne? And so we've reached out to the Women's Fund. They're actually coming to discuss some issues that are present within
the
Fort
Allen
Wayne,
County area.
Allen County area. So, for example, we only have one location within 19 counties that does rape kits
that process
them. So we didn't know how big of an impact that story had within our region, but we definitely want to highlight the work being done and discuss areas that we can grow and move forward with.
Yeah, wow, that's really cool that films are bringing awareness
I know.
to that. Yeah. So on the topic of community, can you guys speak to any challenges that Cinema Center faces as a nonprofit organization, and how can the community help support your mission?
So funding is the number one thing that Cinema Center needs in order to honestly support. I'm going to back that up and say that support is the number one thing that Cinema Center needs. So that can show up in a wide variety of different ways, right? That can be showing up and instead of seeing Wicked, which Cinema Center is going to be getting opening night, instead of seeing that at one of your big box movie theaters in town, come see it at Cinema Center instead. Financial contributions are always so helpful. If you're attending Wicked at Cinema Center and you leave a $1 donation, that's really great. If you leave more, that's even more awesome. If you keep coming back to Cinema Center or just want to support us as an organization, please become a member. That is such a great way. Really, memberships are what sustains us and allows us to have the ability to continue our mission and continue doing what we're doing as an organization. There's also a whole host of other ways that you can get involved to really support. If you are in charge of any sort of organization within Fort Wayne, if you're a community leader, reach out to see if there's ways that we could connect or work together, partner in other ways. We're always open to those opportunities and ideas. If you work at a business and you're trying to figure out where you should host a retreat or a luncheon, Cinema Center is a space that can do that, and you can help support us in a really cool venue. So there's a lot of different ways that you can really take action and be a part of Cinema Center. Obviously, memberships are super, super important and probably the number one thing, but attendance is even more important than that. Those are the two things that would really help us out a lot.
Noted. Yeah. That's awesome.
Plus, you get to participate in the programming if you show up and you see what we're doing. It's so cool.
Yeah. I mean, support can be as simple as bearing witness by purchasing a ticket and coming to an event.
Dragging your friends.
We are always passionate of the idea that some forms of art can feel unattainable. I personally think that film is one of the more easy to access forms of art. And so by just even coming to a screening and participating, you are supporting us. And we need that support, especially coming out of the pandemic and the shutdowns.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Seems like it wouldn't still affect us, but it does.
It does still, yeah. If you guys had to tell a newcomer about the Hobnobben Film Festival, like, what would you say to them? And like, are there any certain films that I know, like, you guys curate everything, so you love everything that's in the festival, but are there any feature films or any short film blocks that you're, like, particularly excited about?
I'm very excited. So I think we've had these are a few of our favorite things almost every year.
Some
in
iteration.
5 years that we've been planning the festival. So we have a film block that we curate almost every year called These Are a Few of Our Favorite Things. There are a ton of like really short, quirky, fun films that we typically showcase on Saturday night. This year we have that block as well. So I like to recommend that as kind of an entry in.
It's a good starter block to really like understand that film is fun, it's accessible, you will laugh out loud with a theater of everyone else just having fun watching these films. And they're all different. Some of them are animated, some of them are, on the longer side, some of them are from Indiana, some are from France. Like, there's just a wide variety of different types of films within that block.
Yeah, and I think, so even before I was a part of Hobnobben, short film is not something that people have a lot of access to view. I mean, we get the Oscar shorts at Cinema Center every year, the Oscar-nominated shorts. Pixar has their short films that play during their Pixar movie screenings.
You know what? Shout out to Pixar for like trying to get to making short film more accessible. I do want to say that, like, on a wider distribution.
Yes, snaps to Pixar. But I didn't know what short film looked like until I started watching the films for Hobnobben. So to have that kind of short curated thing can really help you get into the mindset of short films. It's made me love them. And then another block that I think would be really great for first comers is our Thursday opening night programming. We have a block of shorts as well as a feature length film. All of those films have an Indiana connection, so they are all local. We have local films throughout the festival, but Thursday night gives you this is local filmmaking within Fort Wayne, and it is extremely diverse.
And
so
fun.
We're really, really happy to have that block as well.
I feel like Hoosiers are great at showing up for each other too. So
oh yes,
come out Hoosiers.
We got this.
And then finally, what advice would you guys give to aspiring filmmakers who would want to submit their work to Hobnobben?
Just do it. Just submit.
Yeah.
Please just submit. Honestly, submitting is the first step. And it really is like just putting yourself out there and trying to get your work seen on a wider level. Like, just do it. If there's any hesitations about anything at all, like, have your friend watch it before you submit it or before you complete the project. Just get feedback along the way. Take a step back and then return to the project like a couple weeks later to see like, oh, do you like this? Like, for the most part, if you feel confident about it, if you had fun making it, if you enjoyed the story that you told, we would like to see that. It's really, we've got a lot of strong competition with all the different types of filmmakers that we have submitting to the festival. But if you've got a really good story, you're right up there with them.
Yeah, I envision Fort Wayne to continue to grow with the number of filmmakers we have. Anyone and everyone can be a filmmaker. We've had films that were shot on iPhones, right? So don't feel intimidated or afraid to produce film. We have workshops available throughout the festival to help people at all different levels to get into the industry. Our filmmakers that attend the festival are friendly. They want to connect. They want to talk about film. They are a community that is showing up and just want to be there for each other.
And I think we should also make a note that when we say filmmaker, we just don't mean like the director. We mean, oh, did you write the screenplay? Did you, of course, direct the film? Were you an actor in it? Did you do the music for the film?
Did you produce the film?
Did you produce the film? All of these things are filmmakers. That's not even, touching the tip of the iceberg of what all the different possibilities could be to be a filmmaker. But when we say filmmaker, we mean, did you contribute to this film? If yes, then yes, please come.
Collaborative art.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else that you guys want to say that I didn't ask?
Just that passes are available online at hobnobben.org. The festival is in person from October 3rd until the 6th. And then we do have a virtual option beginning on the 3rd that runs for 2 weeks.
The 19th is
when
it
ends. We have entire festival passes. We have day passes. You can also come just for one block of films. And additionally, we do offer student discounts. So a normal pass would be $30 for Saturday, Sunday, and Friday. Students can get that for $15.
Wow.
So we definitely encourage people to buy a pass, show up. There's so many things that you'll discover and learn once you step foot into our building.
If you're gonna stay like on the couch all day on a Saturday watching Netflix, you could just come to Cinema Center and just hang out and watch films all day there and get good popcorn.
Yeah, couch rot with us.
Yeah.
And
that should be our slogan. Rot with us.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for speaking with me today. And we'd also like to thank the Fort Wayne Media Collaborative Project Manager, Dave Gong, for coordinating this episode of our show, as well as the college TV staff here at the Purdue University Fort Wayne campus. If you're interested in more content from the Fort Wayne Media Collaborative, please visit fwmediacollaborative.com. Until next time, I'm Brianna Barrow. Thank you for listening.